All right, guys, we're back again. We just finished week 4 of the Gridiron 7-on-7 League. This is your Gridiron Report, and I'm Tone Colston. Not a whole lot to talk about this first segment of the show today. Had some big wins. A couple teams went undefeated. We got our first weekend of three-game weekend for all the teams. The weather and all that good stuff early in the season kind of held us back a little bit, but we're back into 3 games. Hopefully for the next 2 or 3 weeks, we can get 3 games each for every team. Got a couple of new teams coming into play this upcoming weekend again. 2 things I really want to talk about. A lot of people have asked about our Player of the Week award deals. We used to give out like little mini helmets and things of that nature. And then I kind of switched it up. Started doing a couple of interview type things. This year, what I'm going to do. I had to get some ideas really, but we're going to give away some autographed items. Kind of raffle, not really raffle them, but give away some items, and basically some of those items that we give away is really just going to come off the list of Player of the Week players. I'll come up with some little rules or whatever to where the same guy doesn't win if he's had so many or whatnot. But we're going to give our Player of the Week award winners an opportunity to win some autographed items. Maybe some University of Tennessee stuff, some NFL stuff. I may send a text out to your coaches and try to figure out kind of who the hot guys are right now in sports that you guys really like, and see if we can find some cool stuff. But, other than that, also one thing we want to do, it's always fun to watch people do things during games, whether it's like try to hit the crossbar, field goal kick between halftime or the Dr. Pepper shootout. During games or whatnot. So we're going to kind of get a little interactive in between some of our games on the weekends to give you guys a chance to win some gift cards, just have a little fun with it, and, just to make a little more experience on the weekend. So we'll knock those couple things out. I'll talk about those a little bit later. Let's go ahead and get into week 4. Let's talk about our top teams of the week for our high school division. Video guy is out of town. He got the videos, but he didn't get to make the highlights for this past week. He'll get them to us when he gets back in town. He's on a little vacation, so let him do his thing. Let Reddick do his thing. But we're going to go ahead and get straight into it. No highlights this week. Let's talk about the high school division. We had 6 teams that had pretty good weekends. We had four teams go 2-1. The Cherokees, the Orange Crush, the Gooners, and the Wolfpack all went 2-1 on the weekend. Team Code Blue was a new team for us. They came out and played in the tournament the other day. It's Anderson County High School's basically football team, 7-on-7 team. So they came out in the tournament, did fairly well. Came into week 4 league play, went 3-1, and had a good start to it. Our one team that went 3-0 has had a couple good league play weeks. The Clinton Dragons 3-0 this past weekend. 2 weekends ago in their first weekend of league play were 2-0, so that sets them right there at 5-0 on the season. Came into the tournament, kind of laid an egg, won a game, laid another egg. So, but good to see them back on track, from week 4. But let's go ahead and move into it. Let's check out our division standings, league leaders, and all that good stuff. So our divisions have grown a little bit throughout the season. We're looking at the Gunslinger division. The last team we added was the Clinton team. So let's go ahead and get through there. So we got the Cherokees sitting at 8-1, took their first loss of the season this weekend. Still holding strong in first place in the Gunslinger division. Clinton has played 2 weekends, week 3 and week 4 before the tournament, and after the tournament it was 2-0 in the first weekend, 3-0 in the second weekend, puts them at 5-0. They got a head-to-head with the Wolfpack. They beat them, I guess, this past weekend. So you got Clinton sitting undefeated, second place. I got East Tennessee Wolfpack holding their own at 5-2. You got Rocky Top and Gooner sitting at 4-5. Loudon 407, both out this past weekend at 2-4. Going down to the Gridiron division, I really wasn't going to add them, the Rising Stars, because generally they only get a couple weekends with us, but with the weather and some of the travel stuff, they've ended up playing, they've played 2 weekends with us so far. Going into this upcoming weekend in week 5, they'll be out here again. And they played our tournament, so they basically played all of our weekends except for one possibly. So I've got them in here. They're 4-0 in the season. They've got a head-to-head against Orange Crush and Goon Squad. They beat both those teams, so we'll put them up against a couple new teams this weekend. See how it pans out for them. But right now they're 4-0, sitting at the top of the division. You got Orange Crush and Goon Squad both sitting there at 4-5. You got Code Blue, another new team we added this past weekend, which is Anderson County. They got their guys back and together, basketball and all that stuff's going on. So they're going to be playing with us. They should play this weekend also. So they're sitting there, just had a 3-1 weekend. Was talking about them just a few minutes ago. Got Bobcats, Mayhem sitting there at 3-6 and 3-3. The Kentucky Raptors at 2-7. Cyclones at 1-8. Lots of football left. Some big matchups coming up. But let's go ahead and take it over into the passing leaders and see who's got the most touchdowns. So when it comes to the passing leaders, we've got two guys sitting on top. We've got the Orange Crushes, Jackson Dabrowski with 18 touchdowns. We got Rocky Top's Will Crowley with 17 touchdowns at second place. Third place, we've got Cherokee's Benson Brang and Gooner's Kai Beasley with 14 touchdowns. We got Keith Jones from Mayhem with 12 touchdowns. And then we've got the Raptors' Reese Hatcher, Loudon's Nolan Hatcher, and East Tennessee Wolfpack's Casey McGowan, all tied right there at 10. So good little group of quarterbacks right there. Everybody's kind of still in the mix. A couple big games here and there. Three more games this upcoming weekend. So we'll see how that runs down. Moving to our receiving leaders, we got one guy sitting at the top. We've got Team Mayhem's Reed Daniel, 9 touchdowns. We got Cherokee's Reed Reynolds, 7 touchdowns. Loudon's Deshaun Reynolds, 6 touchdowns. Gooner's Seth Fain and Rocky Top's Gavin Owens with 5 touchdowns. We got 6 players tied with 4, 11 players tied with 3. So, quite a few guys, catching, multiple 3+ touchdowns throughout the season. We got, 3 guys over 5. Reed Daniels got him a nice little lead right there. So, defensive leaders. We've got 3 guys sitting tied right now. We've got Antoine Humphrey from 407, Cherokee's Isaiah Winfield, East Tennessee Wolfpack's Marshall Goodner, all sitting at 3 interceptions. We got 5 other players tied at 2. We'll see how that goes going into this week. I'm sure somebody else will pull themselves on up out of that hole and hopefully take the lead and be alone as the sole leader on interceptions. But we got our sack leaders. We do have a leader here. Cherokee's Vermillion Crenshaw is the leader right now with 8 sacks. Best team in the league, best defense in the league. Also looking below it, you got 5 players tied with 2 sacks, but right below it, we got the Cherokees, 17 stops, Cyclones, 14 stops, Loudon, 11 stops. So defense is winning, making big plays. Vermillion Crenshaw is 8 sacks. I think that's leading the league in all divisions. Let's go ahead and move into Players of the Week and see who led the league in Week 4. So when it comes to our Players of the Week for our high school division for Week 4, like I said, we got 3 games in, so the stats are a little bit higher. Got a handful of guys threw some touchdowns. We got the Gooners, Kai Beasley had 5 touchdowns. We got Rocky Top's Will Crowley threw 6. Orange Crush's Jackson Dabrowski had 8 touchdowns and 3 one-point conversions. But on top of the leaderboard for this weekend, 10 touchdowns. Cherokee's Benson Brang, number 1 team in the league. 10 touchdowns, 4 one-point conversions, 1 two-point conversion. Gunslinger of the Week for the Cherokees. Congratulations. We got Go-Getter of the Week. We got our Receivers of the Week. And normally when a quarterback throws for 10 touchdowns, he's bound to have a Go-Getter that went and got a handful of them. So there's 8 players tied at 2 touchdowns for the receivers. But we had one guy from the Cherokees, Reed Reynolds, and I believe he's sitting on the top of the leaderboard on Go-Getters for touchdowns on the season. But he had 4 touchdowns on the weekend. So Reed Reynolds, congratulations. Go-Getter of the Week. From the Cherokees. When it comes to defensive backs, it looks like quarterbacks protected the ball fairly well. There's a bunch of guys that had 1 interception. I think there was like 7 or 8, but nobody really topped it off and got that 2 to separate themselves. So we won't have a ball hawk of the week in the high school division, but we do have a rusher of the week, and we keep talking about this guy. A couple guys, we got 3 guys that had 2 sacks. We had Trip Fields from the Raptors. We got Noah Bell and Isaiah Simmons from the Crush. They're putting together a pretty good season, good rush for those guys, getting some pressure on the quarterbacks. It's really been fun watching those guys scramble around. Man, I forget. Actually, it's one of our younger groups. I think one of the D-block quarterback kids, scrambled around, made a great throw, and I was actually got a chance to watch it, just the other day or whatnot. But, a lot of quarterbacks making plays on the run, making throws on the move with people in their face, and, hopefully that's helping them replicate a little bit of Friday night and how things are going to go, because we all know, pressure, keeps guys on the bench and gives other guys a chance to shine. So let's talk about the rush one more time. We got the top guy, 4 sacks, Cherokees, playing defense. That's how they're staying on top of the game, plus throwing 10 touchdowns in the week. We got Vermillion Crenshaw, rusher of the week for the high school division. There you have it. Let's go ahead and move into our varsity division. All right, so we're moving into the varsity division. Let's go ahead and take a look at the top teams of the week. We had 3 teams we really want to talk about. We had the Orange Crush, 2-1. Big weekend for those guys. They've been right there steadily in the middle of the division. This 2-1 should help them move on up. We got D-Block had a big weekend. D-Block went 2-0 with the varsity division. Good start for those guys for the weekend to move on into spring break. Then we got the underdogs. Like I said, back-to-back champions sitting in the middle of the rankings there for a couple weeks. Finished 3-0 this past weekend, so curious to see where that moves them up into the rankings for the varsity division. So let's go ahead and move into the stats and standings and see where everybody's at. All right, so when you're looking at the varsity division, if you take back like just a couple weekends ago, you wouldn't expect this division to look like it does right now. The underdogs were sitting in the middle of the pack. We Grind was undefeated. But right now you got underdogs sitting at 7-2, clear cut first place. You got D Block at 5-3 with a head-to-head over Orange Crush sitting at 5-4 in third place. We got We Grind at 4-5, East Tennessee Wolfpack 3-6, Rising Stars 2-2, and then we got Loudon at 2-4. So no telling what we'll see in the next couple weeks. Will there be another mix-up, or will they kind of finish up the way they are? We'll see, because I know we've got some big games coming up this weekend. Moving on into the passing leaders for our varsity division, we got a clear-cut guy here too. I mean, it looks like the underdogs have taken control of the division. The underdogs, Blade Burgess, 13 touchdowns. Orange Crush, Jacob Deal with 9 touchdowns at second place. Cole Bassett from Loudon with 7 touchdowns. Orange Crush's Gavin Robinson at 6 touchdowns. We Grind has 2 guys, Micah Effler and Harrison Andriopoulos, still in there with 5 touchdowns, and Gabe Wold for the East Tennessee Wolfpack with 4, still on the touchdown list. So top couple teams are making plays. I wish D Block was getting some stats in. I think everybody else is so far, but D Block's sitting there second place, so I can only imagine their athletes have to have some stats that are worth sharing. Let's move to our receiving leaders. Getting to our receiving leaders, underdogs sitting at the top, Will Elder, 7 touchdowns. You got Orange Crush, Braden Bird with 5 touchdowns at second place. Caleb Hill and Carter Collier with 4 touchdowns tied at third place. Then we got a handful of guys at three touchdowns. Jacob Deal, Tipton McCoy, Landry Gann. Then we got 5 players tied at 2 touchdowns. So good little race right here. Everybody's within 2 to 3 touchdowns except, Will Elder. A couple guys close to him, so curious to see who makes the big plays this upcoming weekend as we round this thing out, looking into the playoffs. Interceptions, we've got one guy that's taking the lead, Landry Gann. We Grind, 6 interceptions, first place. East Tennessee Wolfpack's defense, we got a combo of Jaden Bolin and Owen Knight. Bolin's got 5 interceptions, Knight's got 4. Orange Crush's Noah Bell has 3 interceptions. Loudon's Caleb Hill has 3 interceptions. Underdogs got a couple guys, Davis Krim with 3, Quincy Prigmore with 2. Then we got 16 other guys tied with 1 interception. Sack leaders, we got a decent little race here. We really don't have that much competition on the sack. Definitely with the high school group, we'll see what the JV has. But we got Wesley Mead with the underdogs leading with 5 sacks, first place. And you got East Tennessee Wolfpack's Bryce Fox with 4 sacks. Orange Crush has 2 guys, Noah Bell and Major Baker with 2 sacks. So defense leading the way. The leading sackers. You go down here on the stops, and you got the underdogs sitting at first place also, 17 stops. You got Orange Crush with 15, tied with East Tennessee Wolfpack. And then you got We Grind with 13 stops. So got a lot of stats. If you're not getting them in, like I said, we got all the games on Huddle. If you don't know that, go to our ask your coach, get our Huddle link, and log in, watch all the games from the past 4 or 5 weekends. So let's move on into Players of the Week for the varsity division. All right, so when it comes to our varsity group, we got our Players of the Week. Gunslinger of the Week to start off. We got 2 guys to talk about. We've got the Underdogs and the Orange Crush. Both quarterbacks, Blade Burgess for the Underdogs, Gavin Robinson for the Orange Crush, both with 5 touchdowns. We've got Burgess with 3 one-point conversions. We got Robinson with 1 one-point conversion, but he also had 2 two-point conversions. So when we look at the deal, the underdogs did go undefeated. Orange Crush went 2-1, but when the numbers are together, Robinson threw 5 touchdowns. He had 2 two-point conversions, and then a 1-point conversion gave him 5 more points. So the points he accounted for the weekend, we're going to give it to him and go Gunslinger of the Week, Gavin Robinson from the Orange Crush. Congratulations. Moving on over to our varsity go-getter of the week. Kind of the same mix. We got the underdogs and the crush with the main guys. We had 2 guys from the underdogs with 2 touchdowns and 1 point conversion. That's Davis Krim and Will Elder. Was it Will Elder? Yeah. And then the Orange Crush, 3 touchdowns, led the league on the weekend. We got Jacob Deal. So Gunslinger or Go Getter of the Week, Jacob Deal, Orange Crush, 3 touchdowns. Congratulations. Defensive backs, same deal in this group. We had a bunch of guys had 1 interception. I think not a bunch really. They only had a handful. Had 1 interception. Nobody really stood out. So no defensive back of the week. But when we get to the rusher, we got a couple guys who made plays. The Orange Crush had Major Baker, had 2 sacks. But the underdogs, another name that's been on the list, Wesley Mead, 4 sacks on the weekend. Probably helped them. Defense makes it a big thing. 7-on-7 is kind of like arena football. Defense can get 2 or 3 stops in a game, then you should have a really good chance to win. It's an offensive drill. I had some people talking about how, the defense is at an advantage because they got 7 players and this and that. Guys, 7-on-7 is an offensive drill, no matter how you put it. We've added the rush to kind of make it a little bit more difficult, but it's more offensive. It's easy to throw and catch, move the ball downfield and all that good stuff. So these sacks, you guys are changing the game, and probably we'll see at the end of this thing, the guys with probably the most sacks are probably the teams that are sitting at the top of the list. So let's keep it moving. That's our players of the week for our varsity division. We got our JV division. Let's go ahead and check out the top teams of the week for our JV division. So we're back with our JV division. A handful of teams. We got 10 teams in the JV division. So half the league really played well, and it looks like the other half of the league got beat. So let's go into the top half of the league and see who the top teams of the weekend were. So, we got 4 teams finished 2-1 in this JV division. So Mayhem, Dot City, Bobcats, and the Wolfpack all finished 2-1 on the weekend. Good weekend for those guys. Getting those 3 games in kind of changes that dynamic on just how the kids play, how you get your reps, how you mix and match it. But we got one team that's been pretty good the past few weekends and continue to do it. We got Underrated, 3-0 on the weekend. I think they're sitting right there at the top of the division now. Started the season late, but as they've moved in it, they've been taking control and doing their thing. So, congratulations on the top teams of the week. Let's move into it. Let's see stats standings for our JV division. So the JV division has broken into 2 divisions that are actually been pretty competitive so far. We got the Gunslinger division, East Tennessee Wolfpack sitting on top of that at 7-2. We got Loudon at 5-1, Code Blue at 4-5, Team Rise at 3-6, and the Crushers 1-8. The Gridiron division, Team Mayhem 7-2, Underrated 6-1, Dot City right there at 6-3, Bobcats at 3-6, and D Block sitting at 2-7. So good competition right there. We got 3 teams, Mayhem, East Tennessee Wolfpack, Underrated sitting at the top, and Dot City sitting there with 6 and 7 wins. Curious to see how that breaks down. A couple of these teams are going to play this weekend, so we'll kind of see who gets the 2 or 3 losses out of the way and gets up to 8 and 9 wins. But let's go ahead and get to our passing leaders. We got a really good race in this JV division. So we've got 4 quarterbacks right there at the top of it. We've got Tucker Garner, Team Rise, 13 touchdowns, leading the way. We got a tie at second place with Code Blues Jackson Byington, and the Bobcats Wyatt Ritchie, 12 touchdowns, sitting at second place. You got Edward Collins with the Wolfpack at 10 touchdowns. Jet Hembry with 8 touchdowns at Dot City. Loudon's Carter Gurley with 6, and Mayhem's Landry Bounds with 5. I think if somebody would catch up a few more stats, some of those guys at the bottom, I think they're a week behind. But overall, we got a good race here. Same with the receivers. So moving on down to the receivers, we got the Bobcats, Zachary Reynolds with 6 touchdowns, leading the way with the first place. You got Hunter Yexley with Team Rise with 5 touchdowns. You got Stephen Blackney and Scout Earhart. Looking at it, we got a handful of guys at 4 touchdowns. We got Stephen Blackney, Scout Earhart, Eli Sis, Calvin Odell, Jordan Allen, all tied with 4 touchdowns. We got 4 players tied with 3, 12 players tied with 2. Just like every division, this year we've got a ton of guys that have gotten in the end zone. So that's the most fun part about 7-on-7, right? Is getting touchdowns and interceptions and all that good stuff. So, quite a few guys are enjoying their experience. Defensive leaders, the defensive interceptions hadn't racked up very high in any of the age divisions, which is great as a quarterback guy. Defensively, probably not as good if you're, trying to get the defensive guys to get, lockdown coverage and that sort of stuff. But we've got one guy right now, Calvin Odell, 4 interceptions with the Bobcats sitting at first place. Then we got Cruz Schuler, second place with 3 interceptions. Then we got 11 other players tied at 2. So out of those 11 guys or anybody else that may have one, get up there that 3, 4, and 5 mark. Make this a race for the defensive player of the year. But now we've got our sack leaders. We do have a nice little race, and this is probably one of the few divisions that we do. So we got Dot City, Robert Mantooth, 6 sacks. Bobcats, Nick Fincham, 6 sacks, tied at first place. Marshall Eskridge, 5 sacks at second place, so just one off right there. Then we got Eli Kane with 2 sacks. So 6 other players tied with 1. But good race right there between those top 3, Robert, Nick, and Marshall. So should be a big weekend this weekend. Talking about defense, the guys with the most sacks, it looks like it's happened each age group so far comes down and has the most stops. So Dot City, 21 stops, Code Blue, 20 stops. The Bobcats at 17, Rise and Wolfpack tied at 14 stops. So, looking at some good play in the JV division. It looks like good competition. I'm sure this week won't be much different, but let's go ahead and get into the players of the week and see who the ballers were last weekend. All right, so we're at the players of the week portion of our JV division. Let's check out the quarterbacks, see who threw the touchdown. So we've got 3 guys we want to talk about. We've got Dot City's Jet Hembry, had a couple good weekends. This weekend he threw 3 touchdowns, got 1 1-point conversion. We got the Rise's Tucker Garner, has been consistently good all year long, 4 touchdowns. But we've got one guy sitting on top, a new name on the quarterback spot, Bobcats, Wyatt Ritchie, 5 touchdowns on the weekend. Big weekend. I've got to see the Bobcats. I hadn't got to see their JV team play, too many times this year, with us having different, having Clinton, Anderson County, Halls, different spaces. I'm at one spot and other groups at the other spot. So I really hadn't got to see the kids as much as I normally do. But, getting to see the stats stack up throughout the season, starting to run up on these guys and ask them, in the games like, hey, what's your name? And just trying to figure out who's who, put a face to it. But Wyatt Ritchie, 5 touchdowns for the Bobcats. Congratulations, Gunslinger of the Week, week 4. Looks like the Bobcats are on the list quite a few times. So we're going to receivers, go-getter of the week. Really only 2 guys that had 2 touchdowns or more. And both those guys were from the Bobcats. So we got Zachary Reynolds and Calvin Odell, 2 touchdowns. For the receiver of the week, we're going to go-getter. We're going to give that to Zachary. Zachary Reynolds is going to catch the go-getter of the week because we're about to go to our defensive back of the week. And the only guy that registered 2 interceptions was Bobcats' Calvin Odell. So, go-getter of the week, Zachary Reynolds from the Bobcats. Ball hawk of the week, Calvin Odell from the Bobcats. So, congratulations, Bobcats. You got after it. We're going to go and get into the rush and talk about this because the rush, you kind of hit a quadruple here. Nick Fincham, 2 sacks, sitting there in the middle of the sack list. I don't know exactly where you're at, but you're somewhere in that top 2 or 3. But Nick Fincham also from the Bobcats. So Bobcats, big weekend for you guys. 2-1 on your day. Quarterback got off and had some good stats. So, good luck. Congratulations. And let's move on into our JV division or our youth division. And let's talk about our top players of the week, or top teams of the week, So when it comes to the youth division, we had 3 teams stand out this weekend. We had 2 teams go 2-1. We had Team Rise and the Kentucky Raptors, both 2-1. Big weekend by TD Factory, 3-0. Those guys I hadn't talked about all year, but I see it on their highlights. They've done a little mic'd up deal throughout the season. Maybe I can find a video and share it on my social media or whatever. But it's been fun. They've been respectable with it. They're little kids, so you don't expect too much with it. But they're having fun. You can hear them running, and all that stuff, catching the plays, making plays, and been a little animated throughout the play, but it's good. I like it. I think it's cool. I wanted to do that when I was a senior in college, but technology and all that stuff, you just didn't figure it out. But I like the way they're doing it. Keep it up. But they did have a big weekend, 3-0 on the weekend. So congratulations, you guys. Let's keep it moving. Let's go stats and standings and see how that all rounded everything out. All right. So the most exciting division in the league this year, the youth division, has been super competitive. A ton of great plays, big time catches. But right now, we look at the division. TD Factory just went 3-0 this past weekend, putting them 10-2, ahead of everyone. First place, ready to go. Then we got Team Rise, Kentucky Raptors, 7-2, tied at second place. Rise has a head-to-head over the Raptors. SOP Boys, 3-6, Goon Squad, 2-2, D Block, 2-7, and Code Blue, 1-8. So 10-2, TD Factory. Like I was talking about it earlier, they've done a little mic'd up session during some of their games. So try to catch that if you want to hear what they sound like as they are leading the league in the youth division. But we move on over. They aren't leading in all the categories. So when it comes to passing leaders, we got Kentucky Raptors, Case and Harrell, 19 touchdowns, sitting at first place. Team Rise, Hudson Howard, 17 touchdowns, sitting at second place. Those two guys kind of have it, taken care of and held at the top two spots right now without too much other competition. But the TD Factory does have a couple guys, Rice Hall, 8 touchdowns, Ace Booker, 5 touchdowns. I was looking at their scores from this past weekend, and they, if we get down to this bottom of this list, they have to be leading the league in stops. So they're playing some great defense, didn't put up a lot of points, but didn't allow many. So going to our receivers, the go-getters of the year right now, we got one guy sitting at the top of this. Really doesn't look like anybody's going to catch up with him, but you got Team Rise, Cruz Schuler, 10 touchdowns. You got a couple guys now. The Kentucky Raptors, Case and Harrell's got 19 touchdowns, but he's spread it out, man. He's got 3 guys sitting right there at second and third place. You got Maverick Jones, second place by himself with 6 touchdowns. You got Koa Sanders and Kai French with 4 touchdowns each. Then you got the SOP boys. Aries Johnson's got 3 touchdowns. You got the Raptors got another guy, Colton Brumley, with 3 touchdowns. And then TD Factory's got 2 of their guys, Jayshun Bishop with 3 and Ace Booker with 3 touchdowns. So with 3 other players tied at 2 and 9 other players tied at 1, we got a good race here. You got one guy sitting at the top. I don't know if the Kentucky Raptors want to focus in on somebody and try to catch them up, or they're going to just have Cruz Schuler sitting at 1, and then they're going to have 2, 3, 4, and possibly 5th place if Colton Brumley can catch him a couple extra touchdowns next weekend. Who knows? But let's keep it moving down to the defensive leaders. Sitting at the top of the receiving leaders, we're moving down to the defensive leaders, and we got Team Rise, Cruz Schuler, 3 interceptions. He must have caught a couple this past weekend. We'll hear about that in the Players of the Week, I'm sure. But let's go SOP boys, Jace Hawkins, 2 interceptions. TD Factory, Jayshun Bishop, 2 interceptions. 12 other guys tied with 1 interception. So we got 3 guys right there with 3 and 2. Cruz Schuler leading the way on both offense and defensively. We're here, team stops. I told you when we got down there, TD Factory, 28 stops. Leading the league. I think that might be the most stops in all divisions. Kentucky Raptors, 22 stops. Team Rise, 21 stops. Like I said, we got a good competition here, man. We got the Factory, Rise, and Raptors all sitting at 1, 2, and 3. They're at 1, 2, and 3 in stops, and they're right there at the quarterback spot too. So curious to see how this one plays out. Definitely when we get to our playoffs. But let's go ahead and look at our players of the week for our youth division for week 4. All right, so we're back. It's the youth division, players of the week, last division of the day. Big weekend for these guys, big numbers. Had 3 guys really stand out. We had Jace Hawkins with 4 touchdowns for SOP boys. We had Team Rise's Hudson Howard, 5 touchdowns, 1 1-point conversion, 2 2-point conversions. Pretty big weekend for him also. But we had Kentucky Raptors. Case and Harrell's had a big year all season. They were 2-1 on the weekend, 7 touchdowns, 1 1-point conversion, 2 2-point conversion, and 1 3-point conversion. So overall, best day as the quarterback. Congratulations. Gunslinger of the week again, Case and Harrell from the Kentucky Raptors. So go-getter of the week, I can only imagine, is it the Raptors, the Rise, SOP? Let's figure it out. So we've got one guy, SOP, Damari Smith, 2 touchdowns. All right. We've got another guy, looks like 2 guys with 3 touchdowns. We've got Kentucky Raptors and then Team Rise's team guys. So we got Maverick. Let me pull this up real quick. We got Maverick Jones, 3 touchdowns, 1 2-point conversion. But we also got Cruz Schuler. And I guess y'all have heard Cruz Schuler's name week in and week out in this division. 3 touchdowns, 1 1-point conversion, 1 2-point conversion. Big weekend. They're both 2-1. They didn't play against each other, so there wasn't a win or a loss between the two. So we got to go with the numbers. And that gives us Cruz Schuler, Go Getter of the Week again for, actually, we're going to change that. Sorry. Let's go. Maverick Jones, Go Getter of the Week. Forgot I was going to do this anyways. Maverick Jones got Go Getter of the Week. Then we're going to swap it over because our Ball Hawk of the Week got a guy. We've heard his name. We got 2 interceptions. Crew Schuler from Team Rise, Ball Hawk of the Week. So we got our Go Getter of the Week is Maverick Jones from the Kentucky Raptors with 3 touchdowns and 1 2-point conversion. And our Ball Hawk of the Week is Crew Schuler, 2 interceptions, Team Rise. We did the rush this weekend, and I don't know how many sacks there were altogether. Everybody's not putting all their stats in, but we did get one guy, SOP Boys, Jeremiah Brewer, 1 sack. We're going to go with Rusher of the Week with you guys. Hopefully, I didn't get to see the youth games. They were down at Clinton. I was up at AC the whole weekend, but hopefully, I'll get to watch some film and see how it played out. But hopefully the youth quarterbacks, got something beneficial out of the rush, got to moving around a little bit. We started you guys later in the season with the rush, so you can kind of sit back in the pocket, get used to throwing and seeing the defense move, and then kind of get you into it and, create a little bit more atmosphere of what you're used to, right? Catch a snap, get the heck out of the way, and try to make a play. But that is our Players of the Week for our youth division. We're going into week 5. We're back at Clinton High School. We're going to be at Anderson County High School again. It is spring break. There's a couple teams out. High school divisions all together. We got a few teams missing out of the other divisions, but I think we got enough to play. I'm going to work on the schedule. Let's get this out of the way. Good luck. Have a good week. We'll see you guys on Sunday.